So I'm standing here in Pinckney Bend Distillery, which is in the town of New Haven, Missouri, right along the Missouri River. Pinckney Bend, first off, where does that name come from?
Pinckney Bend was a navigational hazard. There are about 5, 6, 7 steamboats that have sunk and raised from around that area. And in the town of Pinkney, we survived there for a long period of time, but ultimately it never thrived again.
When you decided to open up a distillery, why did you choose New Haven?
Well, we lived here. We had looked at doing a brewery. We had been brewing together for 10 or 15 years, and the numbers didn't work. But as craft brewing began to come into its own, we said, we can do this. And it had a still, and we began playing with it. What we produced was enough to encourage us, and we kept going, and today we have a thriving little business.
Well, what I really love are the line of whiskeys where they're all barrel finished with these different types of alcohols like sherry and wine and things like that.
When you're a little guy, you don't have to worry so much about, we don't have to meet a huge market demand. We have to be able to sell it in our tasting room. It has to be good. So what we started doing was taking whiskeys that were already finished and had spent a year in a new oak barrel.
What it does is it rounds everything out.
It like files the edges off,
And it just infuses such beautiful flavor.
Exactly, and they're always subtle. They're not, and the key to this, I think, is subtlety.
Well, I think it's time to taste a few of these wonderful things.
I'm going to turn you over to the experts.
Come on down, Kat.
Thank
So
you.
I heard you had a chance to talk to Ralph about some of our products, and now let's get to the fun part. We're actually going to get to try some of the products.
I've been waiting all through that interview just to get to the taste.
I could see the suspense building. So I'm going to start you off with our sherry cask finish. Those staves are like a sponge, and it's amazing what flavors get pulled out when you introduce that whiskey to it.
And what kind of sherry?
This is using Spanish oak Olorosa sherry barrels, so it was an Olorosa sherry.
Full disclosure, I have some of this at home, and I love it. And just like you said, they're sweet, but not too sweet at all. It's just a beautiful, almost maple syrup kind of a flavor to it.
Yeah,
brown sugar.
And that's the oak from the whiskey beginning to come out, and the way it starts pairing with all those kind of almost stone fruit flavors that are going to show up from that sherry, that's exactly kind of the note it makes.
I love this.
And of course, we have to go with what we're famous for.
The gin.
The gin. Or American gin.
American gin. What does that mean?
To me, that's going for that sweeter balance of the juniper. And one of the other key ingredients in a gin is the coriander. And depending on where you put that is really going to change its flavor profile.
I love gin.
A lot of gins will use stuff that didn't quite make the cut for doing a vodka, and they assume you just don't notice that you went ahead.
Cover it up with potatoes.
Exactly. By not doing that, you're getting this really flavorful shine through of just our base to begin with.
It's so perfumed. It is just a beautiful. It's very complex, and it's one of those things where everything else feels like it just blends into this botanical.
One single flavor.
There is no one single.
That's the way it should be. You want them all to come together to create kind of a harmony. And the goal in a gin is to create that same harmony.
You guys started out with a gin, and your gin has won many, many awards many times over.
We were all gin fans, and we started with a gin, and we, right out of the gate, we got a gold medal at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition.
Which is huge.
It's a very big deal, a very big deal.
But you also won in London, didn't you?
Yes, we got it. But we got a bronze in London, and I don't normally brag.
Just a bronze.
I don't normally brag about bronzes, but I'll take a bronze on gin in London.
Yeah, I think so. This is one of my very favorite gins, and how many gins are aged?
There's only a handful.
There are very
out there.
few across the world that are aged, and this is one. It's made right here in New Haven.
Right in downtown New Haven.
I love the aged gin. You have the aged gin.
Yes, we were trying to simulate what Old Tom gin would have tasted like, and we did.
So did that begin your experimentation with barrel aging, or did you start barrel aging the whiskeys first?
With the gin, we had whiskey barrels that were emptying out, and we were thinking, what are we going to do with these barrels? And we said, let's finish some gin in them. There were a couple of gins out there that were being finished, and we did it, and man, this is really good. And we thought, let's roll it out and see. And it was very popular in the tasting room, and it began growing with the distributor. And we said, let's carry this to its logical extreme like we do everything else.
People like the folks here at Pinckney Bend, you guys are playing with things that, these really big kind of profit-driven types of places are not necessarily going to play with. You guys are really able to push boundaries and introduce something to the market that's unique and special that nobody's ever had before.
They've gotten too big to experiment, and we're just the right size to go out and kind of play. And that's part of the fun of being in the craft market is, well, I want to make what I want to drink.
Yeah.
I don't want to drink what someone else is making. And turns out a lot of people love what we make as well.